My first year as an entrepreneur was intense. Like many of you, before I left my job, I felt stuck. I felt trapped. Like I could be doing better if I went off on my own. But the thought of leaving felt scary, and it felt safer to stay at work. The problem was my wife, who was also working, was 37 weeks pregnant. She was about to give birth to our second child, first son. But if she did give birth, she would be on maternity leave, which means she'd be making no money. To make matters worse, the bank I was working at was suffering, and they furloughed all of their employees that year. They cut off salaries by 20%, which means collectively, between my wife making no money because she'd be on maternity leave and me losing my salary, my household income would be cut by 80%. A couple days later, my wife gave birth. On February 14th, my son, Isaac Daniel, was born. Very happy about that. But while we were still at the hospital, I did the math and I realized we weren't going to be able to pay rent by the end of March. So April 1st, we wouldn't be able to pay rent. Me and my family would have to live out on the streets in the cold Chicago winter. And so I texted my manager and I told her, yo, I got to put in my 2 weeks notice. I got to go. I can't stay anymore. The plan in my head was to leave my job and drive Uber for 2 years max. And in that time, build my YouTube channel to the point where it could sustain my family and then I could grow a business afterwards. So last year, March 1st, 2023, my last day, I left my job, and as soon as I did, I felt that freedom. But I also felt fear because I could fail. And if I did, it wasn't just my neck on the line, it was the neck of my wife and my kids as well. But I couldn't quit. I had to keep moving forward, and I was going to go on with my plan, driving Uber and building a YouTube channel. I just needed to make sure that no matter what, I did not crash my car, because then I wouldn't be able to make any money and I had no backup plans. So a couple weeks after leaving my job, I crashed my car. Crashing my car was absolutely the worst thing I could possibly do because I can't make money without a car. And to make matters worse, I didn't have any money to pay for repairs. Plus, because I was driving Uber when I got into the car accident, my car insurance wasn't going to cover anything. So that was it. I had failed. 2 weeks into this experiment, I had failed.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the time I got into a car crash during my first year as an entrepreneur. Here, I know that, Isabel. Okay, wave. Say hi to the camera. Say hi. There you go. Connecting. All right, cool. Good job. Okay, you can play. Now, where was I? Car crash, no money for repairs, no money for insurance. I failed. But I didn't quit. After a few days of doing some research, I learned that there are places I can go to rent a car for me to drive Ubers. I also learned that Uber has insurance for their drivers. So I was able to get my car fixed. That whole process took like a month. By the end of April, I was back in my car driving like normal. That experience, yet again, reminded me that I am capable of handling more than I originally thought I was able to handle. And that even if I can't handle it, God has my back regardless. And by the beginning of May, I was back in my car. But that wasn't really a good thing. I had 3 major problems I had to deal with. For starters, I was driving 12 hours a day, from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So that means I didn't have time to work on YouTube and grow my YouTube channel. I also couldn't sleep in the morning with the sun and my children up. So I was tired throughout the day. And as a result, I would fall asleep while driving Uber. Or if I wasn't falling asleep while driving Uber, I would oversleep during the day. And that meant I would ruin my schedule for the rest of the day and I wouldn't make $250 by the end of the day like I needed to in order to take care of everybody. And just to make things worse, my neck, my back, my hip were all starting to hurt for some strange reason. By May 12th, I had convinced my wife to leave her job. She hadn't gone back yet since she was on maternity leave, and I didn't want her to go back. I wanted her to quit her job, and the two of us worked together to build a YouTube channel, and then at some point start a business as well. So on May 12th, she went ahead and left her job as well. But I still had all the problems that I had to deal with. And in June, I finally met a guy named Evan. He was one of my Uber riders. He was a back consultant, and he told me that the reason I was having back pain and neck pain and hip pain was because I was stuffed in the car for too long. I had been driving Uber for like 3 months at that point, and he told me that if I had been driving Uber for that long, then I'd put a year's worth of wear and tear on my back just from being stuffed in the car. So he told me to read these books by Robin McKenzie called Treat Your Own Neck and Treat Your Own Back. There's a lot of books that are all really cool. I recommend them to anybody who's having back pain, hip pain, knee pain, neck pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain. Check them out. But he also told me I really needed to stop driving Uber because that's what was causing the majority of the problem. So I decided I would start a new business, doing something. I had absolutely no idea what this business was going to be about, but on June 11th, I started doing research. I knew I needed something that I could charge a lot of money for, at least $250, and something that didn't cost a lot of money to start. So after doing a little bit of research, I decided I could either do vehicle detailing, like clean the inside and the outside of a car. I could charge $250 per car for that, or I could do video walkthroughs and virtual tours of real estate properties, because I could charge at least $250 for that. But I didn't know how much money I would need to like buy the equipment and really get started in all of that. While I was doing research on that, we found out that we forgot to add my son, Isaac Daniel, on our health insurance plan. Since neither one of us had a job anymore, we had to buy insurance from Marketplace. And we forgot to add our son, because when you have a newborn baby, they're covered under your health insurance automatically, just because they're there. But that's only for like the first, I think, month and a half. Then after that, you have to actively add the child. Otherwise, they have no cover. And we found out we didn't add him because we got a pediatrician bill for like $250, I think. We're like, dang, we forgot to add the boy. We tried to call to get that sorted out, and they told us we were gonna have to cancel our current insurance plan and then start a new one later and then add everybody on it all over again. So we canceled the original plan and we started working on getting the new one. The problem with me getting new health insurance was I had a hard time finding time to work on that because I was gone all day, and then I was oversleeping or I was undersleeping, and I was exhausted, and I was having a bunch of problems with my schedule and driving Uber and doing math, and I was under pressure. So one day in June, towards the end of the month, I was outside, I was praying, I was telling God all my worries, all my problems, and he gave me the idea that I need to change my driving schedule. My driving schedule was the problem. So he told me the idea would be to drive from 12 noon until 10 p.m. And I thought this was a horrible idea because I knew I needed 12 hours to make $250 a day, but I was only getting 10 hours to make $250 a day. And I didn't want to do it. But on June 25th, I decided, let's give it a shot. Let's give God a chance. You might be on to something here. So the first week, I started this new schedule of mine, and my grandfather died. He passed away on June 27th. He had been in the hospital for months, actually, the whole year. But there was so much stuff going on between my wife being pregnant, me getting furloughed, my son being born, leaving my job, the car crash, health insurance, bad scheduling. I had only had one opportunity to go up there and visit him before he had passed away. And so when he died, it really took me by surprise. I was not expecting him to actually die. Obviously, I knew it was a possibility because people pass away, but I wasn't actually expecting him to die. So that was difficult to deal with. My grandfather was one of my favorite family members, and I still miss him. By the end of the first week, God's plan didn't work. And I let God know about that. His plan wasn't working. And he told me the problem wasn't the plan. The problem was I wasn't following instructions. The plan was for me to drive from 12 p.m. until 10 p.m. But I was leaving the house to go drive at like 3 p.m., at 5 p.m., at 2 p.m., at 6 p.m. And that's why I wasn't making enough money. God sent me back out for the second week and said, try it again. So I was like, all right, fine. We'll try this again. So we go out for the second week and try it again. The second week, we had my grandfather's burial and funeral. And by the end of the second week, the plan still wasn't working. So I went back to God again and I let him know, your plan still ain't working. I need to go back to my 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. strategy. Like God again was like, nah, you still ain't leaving on time. You is leaving at 2 and 3 and 1. You need to leave at noon every day and then drive until 10. So I was like, all right, fine. I decided to try it one last time for a third week in a row. And on the third week, it worked. It actually worked really well. I think I made more money that week than I was making before since I quit my job. Up to that point, it worked out really well. And on top of that, I was able to sleep better, so that gave me a little bit more time to work on other things. My wife was happy because I wasn't out all night, so it was actually it was a really cool idea. That change of schedule taught me 3 important lessons that I want you guys all to take home. 1, managing your time is a very, very important thing. It really affects everything else you do. But while managing your time is very important, you also need to remember to manage your energy levels. The problem I was having was the fact that I had no energy. I was spending too much time in the car, which means I didn't have enough time to sleep, so my energy levels got jacked up. So you need to remember to manage your energy just as well as you manage your time. Some tips on managing your energy will be make sure you get enough sleep, eat healthy, drink a lot of water, and exercise regularly. The third thing that I learned from this whole event so far was that managing your money is good, but it helps if you could make the same amount of money every single time. Because when you're married with 3 kids, it doesn't matter how much your budget. If you need $500 and you only have 200, all the budgeting in the world is not going to help you with that 200. You need an extra 300. The other problem I was having was the fact that I wasn't making enough money, so we were struggling there. But by managing my time and my energy, I had enough money to manage it well and take care of everything. By the middle of July, the 15th, I had a working schedule with enough time to sleep, enough time to drive, and as a result, we had enough money to stay alive. By July 17th, my wife started looking into how to start a real estate marketing business for me, which was really useful because I was not getting any work done on the business front, and I wasn't getting any work done on the YouTube page. The YouTube page still wasn't growing. My back was still hurting as well. After my wife did a whole bunch of research for me on how to start a business, we realized it was going to cost a lot of money, and we didn't have any money to buy equipment like a 3D camera or tripod, an iPad, so we didn't know what we were going to do. I was planning on like saving $100 every week until I had enough money and then buy everything, but that was going to take years. But that was the best we could do, so that's what I was working with at the time. My wife, however, got a letter. Technically, we both got a letter. I got a letter in April. She got the letter in June, but because a whole bunch of crazy stuff was happening, neither one of us checked the mail until late July. It was from a company that was managing our retirement plan. Since both of us were no longer working, that company was contacting us and saying, yo, y'all need to pay us to manage your retirement plans for you, or you need to take your money out of here. After thinking about it, I did not need to have another monthly or annual expense, so we decided we're just gonna take our money out. I knew there would be a tax burden for taking money out, but I figured I'd figure that out. And if we did take the money out, we'd be able to use it to start the business. And if the business took off, we could use the money, the income from the business to pay off the tax burden. Genius! You know, like what could possibly go wrong? By August 7th, my wife got her money. She got $7,277.70 from her retirement plan. She actually had $9,000 in there, but we had to put like $2,000 away for taxes, and then we got the rest of it. On August 13th, I had a surprise conversation with my mom. She asked me how we were doing. I told her we were doing okay. I didn't tell her anything about the retirement plans because I didn't want her to tell me not to do it. I felt I had a working system and I wanted to keep working. After having a conversation with my mom, she realized I was working 7 days a week. She wanted me to take at least 1 day off. I didn't want to do that because it's hard enough 7 days a week. I got 3 kids, I'm married, I'm an entrepreneur now, I got everything to worry about, you know. But she was like, in the Bible, God worked 6 days, and then on the 7th day, he rested. And he told his people to do the same. My parents had recently gone to Israel, and she told me like they all take Saturday off. Nobody works on the 7th day. But what they do on the 7th day is they reflect, they strategize, they kind of communicate with one another and see like, how did we do? How can we do better next week? What should we change? What should we keep the same? What can we improve? What should we stop doing? My mom really impressed the idea on me, you know, making sure that I kind of do something like that. I figured, you know, last time God had an idea, when I actually did it, it worked out. So I figured, you know, why not? You know, give God a shot. He might be onto something again here. So I decided I would take Mondays off. Not Saturday or Sunday, because the weekends I make a lot of money driving Uber. But on Monday, nobody's going out on Monday. Monday's a slow day, and it actually turned out to be a really good idea. I had time to work on the business or a YouTube channel, or just spend time with my wife, with my kids, relax. I go to sleep a lot earlier on Mondays because I'm kind of worn out by the end of the week. And then on August 15th, I got my retirement money. In the mail, it came in as a check. I had $6,640.63. I actually had $8,000 in my retirement plan, but like I said, I took some money for taxes. So collectively, me and my wife had, I want to say roughly like $13,000, I think. It was like $13,918, which was great. But I was scared. I actually did not want to use the money. I was a little bit afraid that something wouldn't work out, and I didn't want to just jump into it. So we kind of held off from August 15th. By September 21st, though, I was sick and tired of being scared of using that money because I was tired of being in the car. My back was hurting, my neck was hurting. I was like, I'm sick of this. I got money at home. I'm going home. I turned off the clock early. I went back to my house. And when I went back to my house, everything changed. We bought the 3D camera that we needed. We bought a tripod. We bought an iPad. We bought a stylist. I bought courses and training. I finished reading $100 million offers. I finished reading $100 million leads. We started doing warm outreach, telling people we were in business. I started making cold calls. I bought a Grant Cardone sales training, which cost like $2,000. I did a payment plan on that one because we were running out of money by the time I got that. And we did a lot of work. We got a lot of work done. We bought a website. I started designing a website. We did all that in the span of 1 month. I drove no Uber during that month. It was all business, which worked out because we did get one customer. That one customer I serviced for free because it was my first customer, you know. He was really doing me a favor. The problem was we ran out of money by October 22nd. I needed to get back in the car. So I had to slow down on business. That's not true. I didn't slow down. We had to stop doing business because not only did we run out of money, we had to move. My brother-in-law bought this lovely property and he only wanted to rent it out to family. My wife really wanted to move in, help her family out. I wanted to do no such thing because if I did that, then I would have to stop working on business. I would have to start packing. I'd have to plan out the logistics of moving, and then I'd get no work on business done. But my wife really wanted to go, so we ended up agreeing to move here. And just as I said, no business was done. Nothing. We didn't make a phone call. We didn't post any content. Nothing. There was no business done whatsoever because we were packing. And on October 31st, we moved. And that was just the beginning of the moving problems because the tenants who lived in our unit were still in our unit. So we really were crashing in my brother-in-law's unit while we were waiting for our unit. Those tenants were supposed to leave no later than November 5th, but they stayed until November 12th. And that meant I also got to do no business because all of our stuff was in the garage in storage, which really frustrated me. Then when the tenants finally did get out of our unit on the 12th, then I had to figure out how to move all of our stuff from the garage into our unit. And then I had to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi out. Oh, and then we realized at the beginning of winter in Chicago, the furnace didn't even work in the place. So that was even worse. And the place was drafty. It felt cold everywhere. Never mind the furnace. You could put your hand up against the wall and feel cold air blowing in. At our old apartment, the worst the gas bill ever got was like $145, $155. That was the absolute worst. Here, $260 for 1 month of heat because the place was so dang drafty. It still is. We just survived the winter. On top of that, people started getting sick because the place was, drafty and dirty. I started throwing up and I never get sick. And then that lasted for like a week. And then once I was finally feeling better, then the kids started throwing up, like Isabel. My daughter, she started throwing up. That lasted for like 2 weeks, and Isaac Daniel started throwing up. Not to mention, my wife was still pregnant, so she was tired and exhausted from being pregnant over the last couple of months because her due date was getting closer and closer and closer. And it was rough. By mid-December, most things were solved, but we still didn't have health insurance. I knew we needed health insurance, so I started working really hard to try and find health insurance because my wife's due date was coming up in January. So I did manage to find us some good health insurance that would cover everything that we needed it to cover. But whenever you buy health insurance, it always kicks into effect on the start of the next month. So our health insurance was going to kick into effect on January 1st, 2024, which I figured was fine because, like I said, the child wasn't expected to be born until January 27th. It gave us like a whole month. But my son wanted to prove me wrong, and he was born on December 27th, like a month in advance. So the insurance covered none of that, and we get to pay all the hospital bills, which I think was like $20,000 worth of hospital bills. Add in my wife's student loans, add in credit card debt, we're at just under $60,000 of debt and hospital bills. By January 8th, we were finally getting back to working on business. We were making cold calls again and making no progress with cold calls. I decided I needed to finish designing the website and then pay for ads so that the advertisements could go talk to people and not me. But in order for us to do ads, I needed more money. So I decided to try and improve my offer, but to buy the training that I needed and the equipment that I needed more money. We worked as hard as we could anyway. By January 17th, we did find one paying customer. It was my old landlord. My brother Elijah helped me. He did the video walkthroughs. I did the 3D tours. But that was the only customer we had found that paid us so far. And by February 12th, I was just reflecting on the whole year. I felt like I had made absolutely no progress. I was close to $60,000 in debt. My back, my hip were still hurting. The business wasn't growing. The YouTube channel wasn't growing. My wife was stressed out from having a new baby. I was living in a place that I absolutely hated with only 1 year left. But I didn't quit. February 14th came around. My son Isaac turned 1 year old. And by March 1st, 2024, 1 year after quitting my job, I'm still broke. But at least I can say I survived my first year as an entrepreneur. And a lot of people don't manage to ever get to that point. They stay at their job because working a job is a bit easier, it's a bit safer, even if they hate it. So I'm kind of in a class all of my own. But at the same time, I'm very disappointed in myself because I feel like I should be way further ahead after one whole year. I mean, yes, I started a business. Yes, I did post some videos on YouTube, but I feel like I could be further along. However, moral of the story is, the first year of an entrepreneur's journey is going to be difficult. You're going to make mistakes that you not even know you're making. I'll probably come back after I've done like 10 years as an entrepreneur and be like, yeah, let me tell you what I did wrong, what I should have did, what I didn't do. But I don't know all that stuff just yet. All I know for certain is it's hard. It takes a lot of work. It tests you every single month, but it's doable. It is possible. So if you make it through your first year, I'm proud of you. Very proud of you. Do the best you can. You'll survive. And I could go on, but as for now, enough said. Talk to you. Bye-bye.